You're in the field house with the Coach Clack Academy.
All about the ball. Yeah. Tonight, we find a way.
And they knock
A-plus content.
County
Authentic stories.
to be the 7-8
Actionable
Georgia
takeaways.
We're going to attack them like they've never been attacked.
This is the Field House Podcast.
Coaches, welcome back to another episode of the Field House Podcast. Here we are with our third installment of Clack's Corner. And with me today, of course, we've got Coach Mash and we've got Coach Clack. We're going to break down week 3. Obviously not the result that we were looking for, but as we've talked about, this is a work in progress. And while it was a loss on the scoreboard, I think there's still some promising things for the program to continue to build on. So with that, Clack, how you doing today?
Doing great, man. Just came off the practice field with what I felt was a extremely productive Monday. Changed some things up this week, looking at, where we're at and coming off of, a pretty physical game and having some pretty long practices, and trying to, put the work in that we got to put in to get ready to play. And I made a decision to go helmets today and really focus on corrections and teaching and installation that we hope can give a little reprieve from the physicality of practice, but sharpening the mind so that we can hit Tuesday and Wednesday fast. And it was great. It was great. The energy was good. The focus was good. So rejuvenated, man. Ready to attack this week.
I'm going to recap the game real quick, and then we're going to dive into the game because I know you've got a lot of insights and thoughts in terms of breaking down what exactly happened. It looked promising early. Greg Hart found Jaleel Parham on a 69-yard touchdown strike, with Xander Mullins punching it in for a 2-point conversion, giving Parkview a quick 8-0 lead. On the ensuing kickoff, Parkview getting aggressive, tried an unsuccessful onside kick, which gave Collins Hill a fairly good starting position at about the 50. They took advantage of that with a field goal, and on the next possession, Parkview goes 3 and out. We had a short punt, which gave great field position, and they took advantage of scoring a TD there. A very next Parkview possession, unfortunately, a fumbles from Mullins gets the ball back to Collins Hill. They convert for another touchdown to take a 17-8 lead after the first quarter. From there, Parkview really struggled to kind of get rhythm on offense, a couple special teams miscues, and a critical 4th down, roughing the punter, which instead of being a stop, gave the ball back to Collins Hill, which continued to allow Collins Hill to take advantage of the opportunities. And unfortunately, the Panthers were shut out in the last 3 quarters, and Collins Hill went on to a victory 38-8. So I want to start there, Coach. Last time we left, you talked about, the theme of last week. One, staying focused throughout the week and, trying not to get too high off the excitement of a win, but being humble and continue to be consistent. What's your overall thought right now on the game as you're sitting here 2 days later now?
As we talked about focus, one good takeaway, there was no unsportsmanlike. There was no stuff after the play. I didn't feel like those were the type of things that got us. There were a handful of pre-snap penalties on both sides, but I do feel like they're tightening up, fewer, if you go back to the North Paulding game, fewer of those just complete, hey, we lined up wrong, we couldn't get in the right spot, and things like that. I felt like this was more of a game, and we talked about it going in, and it's going to be bigger, faster, stronger than we've seen, and I think that was more of, if we didn't make plays, it was because they were harder plays to make. So now we've got to focus on part of what we're talking about with practice is, we got to find ways to get through the teaching and get through the meat of practice and still have enough gas in the tank, enough time on the clock to get into some competition periods, to get into some situational teaching, to get into these things that are trying to fast forward some of this learning curve, some of this growth that we need with a young and inexperienced team. I mean, it is what it is. We have a lot of young players playing. I mean, game 1, we had, 3 freshmen playing the bulk of the offensive snaps. Even when you see some of our seniors and some of our juniors, a lot of them, it's their first time getting varsity experience. So what happens week in and week out? And again, I got to look in the mirror about how I'm exposing them to some of these things that seem elementary. You would hope that we don't make some of these mistakes, but man, there's a million things that can happen in a football game, especially when you start talking special teams and you start talking, situational ball. So the best we can do is learn from these lessons. And I think the coaches have done a fantastic job of assessing what went wrong, this shows up in practice. There's intentional drills to correct it. There's intentional field time to discuss it. Doesn't mean that it's going to be corrected overnight, but I do see, even though, man, there just seems to be mistakes. Well, a lot of times they're not the same ones. There's other things that are coming up. I mean, that's not a excuse at all. If anybody doesn't want to see those mistakes, it's me, the head coach, because I think it directly affects my preparation of this team or reflects my preparation of this team. But we're not going to sit around and cry about it, make excuses about it. We're going to see the problems and we're going to work diligently to assess them. Like some of the coaches have been saying, hey, face it and fix it, and I think that's what we're doing. I'm very appreciative of the non-region schedule that we've had. We've seen 3 really good teams and 3 different teams. So they're exposing different things. And I couldn't be more grateful to be 0-0, 0-0 in our region and learning those type of lessons as we're going forward.
So let's talk a little bit about the offense from Friday night. As we last talked about it, Greg Hart been playing efficient ball, had another efficient night from a completion standpoint, was just under 50% completion, 178 yards, had the big connection there with Jaleel Parham. He did have the 2 interceptions, but we also talked about, the explosive plays and the explosiveness that Jaleel Parham gets you. So he had another bright game or another big game, 111 receiving yards with that long 69-yard TD. If you wouldn't mind, talk a little bit about your passing game from Friday night.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously couldn't start much better. They watched the film from the week before and saw the, 500 and some odd yards that we were able to rack up on a really good West Forsyth team. Like we talked about last week, made some adjustments, bolstered up that offensive line. We found that rhythm early. Knew it wasn't going to be that easy, not that it was easy against West Forsyth, but things got rolling and we found that momentum. Collins Hill trying out some Power 5, 4 or 5-star guys up front. So we knew that was going to be a challenge. Committed to the running game, wanted to really get it going because it really is going to be the catalyst of this offense. We want to be able to establish things and then create space for our receivers off of, our RPO stuff and getting those safeties down. They started the game with those safeties down, a loaded box, 1 high safety, no support in the slot there over Jaleel, and we took our shot essentially on the 3rd play, 2nd play of the game, and we connected. And it wasn't a wide open play, the DB is there, he misjudged the ball, Jaleel comes down with it, and he's off to the races. We took more of those shots in the game, and we didn't connect. There were some opportunities there where we have a step. It's a good throw, but it's not a perfect throw. We have a little separation, but it's contested. So that's kind of where the game kind of hung for us. It wasn't that things weren't there. It wasn't that things were easy. But if you're going to beat good teams, you got to be able to make those plays. With that being said, as we reflect back on it and what we have to reflect on and assess is, okay, we don't want to get in this game where, okay, if we can't find rhythm in the run game, now they're forcing us to take low percentage shots down the field all night. Because if you don't hit those, now you're 3 and out, and now you're putting your defense on the field. We got to find ways to create rhythm within this offense. And, that'll kind of be a theme, right? Rhythm and momentum builds. We're not 52-21 better than West Forsyth, in my opinion. That was what the last 3 quarters were. We found rhythm. We got rolling. We poured on. Same idea. You cut me wide open and look in and tell me what I think Collins Hill's 38-8 better than Parkview right now. I don't. They were that night. There's a handful of plays, big ones that we'll talk about, and then there's a buffet of small plays where it's pick up this first down here, convert a few more first downs and get rolling. Who knows what that does over the course of the game when you start, stacking those body blows and letting your defense rest a little bit instead of being on the field over and over and over again.
And coming off a week when your running game, did rush for over 500 yards. We talked about the 3-headed monster between Mullins, Dixon, and Caldwell last week. Obviously, on Friday night, we're held to under 60 yards rushing combined. Was it a matter of just those 5 stars, so that defensive front was just too much for the offensive line? I know we've also talked about some of the changes to the offensive line that you're working through right now.
Well, I came off the field and that's what I thought, and it was just one of those like, okay, well, that kind of shows us where we're at. We still got to grow. After watching the film, no, I think that yes, it was challenging. Yes, if you don't do your assignment, and I don't even say perfectly, but if your blocking assignment is to double team with this guy to that linebacker, and we lose that double team because we're going to the wrong person, it looks like we get whipped. But honestly, it was we got left out to dry. I use this analogy a lot when you're watching from the stands and you see a corner just get burnt down the sidelines and the corner's trailing. And everybody's like, why is that corner's, he just got burnt. What's he doing? Well, he was playing cover 2. He should have had a safety over the top, So there's a lot of different nuance that goes into these things. And that's not to call any unit out or call anybody out, but it's everybody has their job. It's the same thing on defense. What's wrong with the defensive scheme? They're not setting an edge. Well, I promise you that the defense was drawn up to have an edge, but right now we're not doing our job perfectly. You're in the right spot, but did you hold that spot? And if one person breaks down, that's why it's the ultimate team sport. If one person breaks down and doesn't hold their space and do their job, then the other 10 can't rally to it. So there's a game within the game, and we're coaching hard, and these guys are receptive and they're getting better. I promise you, I see it. I see the improvement, but it's a game of inches, and it's an explosive play that looks easy could have been nullified if just one extra yard over here, 1 second longer you held it. So again, that doesn't excuse anything. It means we still got work to do. The boys are aware, the coaches are aware, and we're working our tails off to try to tighten those things up and get it ready for region play.
Yeah,
And I want to talk about
it's like, we're kind of still a little bit in that phase of us against us. It feels like, certainly we are playing an opponent, but like you said, if going back and watching the tape, a lot of the stuff is self-imposed mistakes that we can work on, of course, not to take anything away from opponents, but we are, I think, still working against ourselves a lot of times.
So I want to talk about that, the kind of the mistakes that are happening. And the first thing I want to talk about is that the muff punt that happened early in the game. Kind of tell me what happened there. I know last time we talked about special teams coach. Is the special team coach still on the hot seat? And what adjustments need to be made there?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, we seem to have a different special team issue each week. Now, the one thing I would say is different. Last week it was in our kickoff return. Do you think we put a lot of emphasis on making sure we filled those kickoff returns? And we did. We made some adjustments to our kick coverage. We were aggressive and tried with the surprise onside, which I loved coming out. It was a game plan. If we scored, if we got the ball first and scored, we were going to go for 2. We were going to try do the onside, try to put our defense in a position to be up 15-0 before they got on the field. But this week it showed up in punt, and our punt protection has been really good. I felt very solid with that, from the last couple months. Well, you have an injury here. Now all of a sudden it adjusts some things. Our snapper actually becomes our punter. He hadn't had a lot of work there. He's really good at it. Backup snapper, very capable, but it's a different dynamic, less reps. So that's kind of part of it. A very simple look that doesn't seem that big, but something that maybe our left tackle in protection hadn't seen, our right tackle hadn't seen, and our operation was a little bit slower. The guy gets through on the first punt and he gets a piece of it. So obviously we're making adjustments on the sideline, and we had a good protection adjustment that then threw our personal protector a little off, and he backs up and out where he needs to stay, forward and out. And he kind of backed into the punt lane right there. One of those things that, like I said, there's been 4 things that have happened in special teams that I haven't seen in 10 years. But again, that is what it is. So of course, today we spent a good 10-15 minutes working on better coaching and adjustments for our players, so that when we see these various looks, they have tools in their tool belt, and they've been working them, and they can go forward and be successful, because you never know what you're going to see on a Friday night.
Yeah, and one positive from that play, the self block, was a very effective message to the personal protector. My guess is he's never going to step off that ledge again.
And what a team captain. Nobody felt worse about it than him. And I'll tell you, that's one thing that continues to be a theme. the effort, the accountability, the ownership. Man, I couldn't be more thrilled with it. Obviously, you hate learning these lessons in front of everybody on a Friday night, but you know what? It gets your attention. And so when we go back into the film room and we're talking about it now, the eyes are locked in. Coaches aren't calling guys out. No, again, it's as much my fault as it's anyone's. We're asking a lot of a handful of guys. There's guys who are playing offense, defense, and on multiple special teams unit, and we're still just 3 games into this thing. So you make these mistakes. Again, unfortunately, it happens in front of everybody. You want a finished product. Guys, they call it midseason form for a reason. You got to be willing to take these lumps. That we signed up for it. And I wouldn't be a very good mentor of young men and a coach if, I let the ego step in. I'm embarrassed because, I'm the head coach. I'm over the special teams. And what are you're making me look bad? Nah, none of that. None of that. If anybody looks in the mirror, it's me first. And we got to do a better job of preparing these young men who are giving us everything they got. And the refreshing thing is every time they've been knocked down, every time, I say it to them, every time I've challenged you after something's going wrong, you've responded, and they continue to do that. And they showed it to me today. They showed it to me when we in the meetings. And there's been several things to address, and we're excited about the progress we're already making.
Yeah, and on that point, there are 2 things that really stuck out when we, Coach, yesterday when we showed up for our weekly coaches staff meeting. I didn't see a single coach had their head down. It was very businesslike. The coaching staff showed up talking about the plans for the next game, talking about what to fix from the previous game, just very matter of fact, going about the business. And then we showed up today, the same with the players and the full team. Nobody was hangdog. Nobody had, woe is me attitude. It was, okay, we're here, we're ready. What are we doing today? I think that speaks a lot to where we are and how far we've come. Because, Coach, if you remember back during the summer, we played some 7-on-7, and we had some ups and downs sort of mentally on the sideline. We win a couple games, but really just seeing that consistency of mentality improve over time to today, I think is going a long way towards getting us where we want to be.
I want to talk about one other critical play, and not to belabor the punting game, but there was a big critical play that happened from the defensive side on punting also, and that was the roughing the punter on a 4th down that really kind of changed a lot of the momentum in the game for you. Kind of talk about that and what happened there and the impact that it had on the game.
Yeah. So again, I believe a great way for special teams to show up. Sometimes you're trying to be neutral special teams, and hey, let's get the ball back to the offense. Hey, let's have good coverage, good, effective, clean play. And then there's times when you pick and choose, especially when you're going against a tough opponent, 11-point underdogs, whatever that means. But it kind of gives you an idea. Hey, we're going to have to find some ways to maybe create here. And we felt that in our punt block game that was away. And we had a very good punt block drawn up, one that I was excited about. I remember watching the first time, and guys didn't get through the way I thought. And going back on the sideline, I'm watching, and I'm seeing why, right? And their protection had shifted out to where we were bringing the pressure. And our guy who was occupying the A gap there, who was supposed to open up the hole, well, he was just left untouched. And so as we had that extended time and halftime, I'm pulling it up on the iPad and I'm showing it. And I swear, it's like I had the 2 guys on my shoulder talking. It's like, I don't know if I want to tell him to do this because we haven't worked it. Again, we haven't not put him in a position to go and execute this. What seems very simple, right? Just go block the punt. Just go take it off his foot. Well, if in the heat of the moment, the first time, and you're running directly scotch-free up the A gap, and I can go take it off his foot, well, what happens if I don't touch it? And again, I mean, I would challenge everybody at home to go out and just go see how easy it is to in real time run full speed and take that punt off somebody's foot. Tell me you don't flinch. Tell me you don't react. Well, there's a couple of rules, right? As I'm rushing the punt. One is I should never leave my feet vertically and put my hands up. Pretty good recipe to not touch it and to run right into that punter. Second thing is I got to understand my angles, right? Where is my body going to take me? And if I'm on a specific path or type of path, do I want to go across his foot or do I stay on my same side? Do I reach out with one hand or 2 hands? We hadn't worked these things, but I saw an opportunity where if they let you free again, you can go take it off this foot. It can be an opportunity to change the game. And sure enough, got free, gave great effort, went for the ball and missed it. And sure enough, clips the punter, right? Huge, huge swing as the game goes. It was still a 2-score game, middle of the third quarter. Defense had just come up with their second stop. We blocked that punt. It's not a far cry to say that there's a potential scoop and score. We're a 1-score game if that happens. But instead, it's essentially a turnover. They get the ball back. 2 plays later, they score. Now it's a 3-score game. So game swings that way, not the reason we lost that game by any stretch of imagination. And I'm sure that young man was beating himself up. But the first thing I said is, that's my fault. That's my fault. I put you in a position we had not prepared you for, and you did as best you could. We will work on that this week. And we spent 30 minutes talking about it today in our advisement class, or in our third period. We got all the guys, and we're going to be working on it this week. Anybody who can possibly get through on punt, anybody who can possibly buy it, they're going to know the basic rules going forward that they haven't learned yet. And that, again, that's part of, you've only got so much time. Where are you making your time for? So what a great opportunity to learn. Again, when I'll own, should I maybe have said, you know what, let's just play it safe. But at that point in the game, we needed a spark, man.
Yep.
One thing I'll tell the boys all the time, you don't have the head coach who's going to try not to lose bad. You got a guy who's going to constantly take shots and try to win a ball game. If that means the score gets out of whack, so be it. So be it. But we're going to go down swinging, guys. And that's the mentality we're going to have. So we're never going to be afraid to take that shot. If it doesn't work out, we'll come back and figure out how we can coach it better and put those guys in a position to be successful the next opportunity they get.
I love that. And that's why the kids love playing for you, and that's how you get them ready to fight for you on the field. Let's talk about the defense. The defense, they did bend a little bit, but they also made some plays. They gave up 177 yards rushing, but held them to under 200 yards passing. KJ Caldwell involved in 8 tackles. He had another sack, 2 tackles for a loss. Mobley had a sack. Lambert was involved in 10 tackles. What are some of the positives that you're seeing from the defensive side of the ball?
Again, if you're just a fan and you're looking at the score box, you're like, man, the defense gives up 38 again. Dude, that's not the story. Now, there's still things that we're tightening up there. Our tackling has to improve, our pursuit and our angles, all of those things we're still working. But that defense played their tails off. I mean, we put them in horrible field position all night. And one of the big keys to victory for us, one of the things I harp on, is red zone efficiency. We want to kick extra points when we get in the red zone, and we want to hold them to field goals. Nash, I think you got the stats, man. And there were multiple times that they were in horrific field position, and they have to trot that field goal kicker out there. That kept us in the ball game. Now, were there some plays we wish we had back, some opportunities to make some? Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're still working on those things. It's definitely not a finished product by any stretch of the imagination. But if you look at that defense from game 1 to game 3, and you don't see the improvements, you're not watching the same guys out there running around in the same unit that I'm watching. So very proud of them. Never, and this is another big, never, when they get on that short field, or there was a quick 3 and out. I mean, we had 5 3 and outs the other night. 5 3 and outs, and opportunities on 4th down, and a turnover here and things like that. The mishaps on the punt, getting them off the field and putting them right back on the field with the roughing punter. Dude, they just put their helmets on, they run out there and they play football. And I love it. I love it. And I couldn't be more proud of those young men. And they should be proud of their efforts. And at the same time, looking and saying, okay, how do we even get better? And I promise you, we're going to get more efficient on offense, and we're going to be able to get away from the boom and the bust and sustain drives. We're going to tighten up special teams and be able to put them in better field position. And when all those things come together, I'm really excited about the potential of this football team.
Mash, what do you see when you look out there?
It's been really fascinating to see the evolution to where we have gotten today. From where we, started February, March or so, whenever that was. I think that our coach said this. I mean, he said he's challenged every single time that he challenged them to take a step up, they've done it. I think that's just been remarkable to see, because collectively, 100-something kids, it's tough to get them all moving in the same direction, particularly if it's a different direction they're used to moving in. That's what I see. I see just
Yeah.
that continuous improvement week after week, day after day of how they carry themselves on the practice field, on the game field, their urgency, their intentionality. That stuff is really starting to take hold, I think. And I think we're still a long way away from ultimately where we'd want to be in those areas. But, once you start to get a critical mass, now your team is moving in the same direction at speed. And that's a situation you want to be in, and certainly can see it on the horizon just looking at the trend of where we've come from.
And when we talked with George from GHSA, I mean, he talked about that Clack's in the process, and that's what you guys level set it right in the beginning. We're building a program, right? We're watching this thing being built brick by brick by brick, and as George said, there ain't a better person at the helm to be leading that charge than Coach Clack. And so it's fun, and we know there's going to be ups and downs throughout the way, but it's really been a fun journey to watch. I want to look ahead here because we finally are getting to this part of the season. We're going to week 5, going to be your 4th game, but now you're going to be facing, it's going to be your first regional game. A week 4 opponent, you're playing Berkmar High School. They're currently looking for their first win. They're 0-4. I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about them. So curious from your side, what challenges did they present for Parkview as you guys begin to prepare for this game?
Well, it's the other school in Lilburn. So, it's the next door neighbor and a lot of history there. A lot of history there. And I tell you, anytime things are going to change, right? I spoke with the team today. It's like, this is the next phase. So we talk about this season. We break it down into phases. I have 2 goals that never end, right? They repeat. Play the most games possible. Play our best ball when ball matters most. That starts now. To me, everything prior to this is preseason. Not that we don't try to win them all, not that we're not, doing everything we can, but whether it be experimenting here, working on some things there, that stops, right? We got to be ready to treat every one of these individually. That 1-0 message is real. So that's the biggest thing. Then you've got, a stretch of games coming up where you've got Berkmar, then you go North Gwinnett, then you go Brookwood, then you go Norcross. My job is to be able to look near and far. And there's part of how I prepare this team, as I was talking about earlier. And I'm not scared to talk to them about it. Like, hey, part of going helmets today is I'm looking at our bodies. It's not any way, shape, or form because of who we're playing this week and whatnot that you guys should be looking for. You guys need to be present on the moment and worrying about, honestly, what Coach Matt said. It's us versus us pretty much. If the offense isn't going out trying to correct its efficiency, I said, your goal should be 0 3-and-outs and 0 turnovers. Defense, your goal should be freaking no missed tackles, all right, and perfect assignments. And special teams, we're tightening up. We're getting a neutral at worst this week. And those are the type of things that no matter who your opponent is, if we can focus on doing those things, we're going to be just fine. Where Berkmar poses a threat is they got a live arm quarterback now. This guy will sling it. It's like he brings it from his socks, and he's ready to throw that thing all over the park. So, and he gets it there. And we've got some big receivers that can get open and hurt you in a hurry. And I promise you, there ain't nobody they would rather knock off than Parkview right now. So, we're gonna come and respect this game as it should be respected. Focus on this right now. Our focus should be on how do we have the best Tuesday practice we've ever had, and follow that up with Wednesday, Thursday, and go out and try to play the cleanest, best, most efficient game that we can.
Just it's week 5, but being a region opponent, a region game, this is the most important week of the program right now. Region games are important, very important. That's what you're gearing for.
As we look back on this week, obviously losses can be teaching moments. What are some of the key positives that you're taking away and having the team really lean into coming off of this week?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it. I mean, as long as we can keep that mentality, there are no losses, only lessons. Again, it was important to see kind of their response after that first loss to North Paulding. Okay, now we've had another one. Are they going to see a change in the coaches? I actually complimented a couple of the coaches today. I said, I'm just really impressed that you guys are kind of what Coach Mash was talking about. Nobody's coming in here beating up on the kids, hanging their head, none of that. It is so professional in a sense where it's, okay, this is what's before us. So we're going to go back, we're going to assess, teach, reteach, figure out what, again, it's the teacher's job to get the student to understand. And until you do that, or figuring out, okay, maybe I'm asking him to do something he can't do. And now it's my job to put him in a position to be successful and put somebody else in that position. So I've just been steady on that. And I think that's one reason why the kids are responding. It has been a consistent message. They know what they're going to get every single day with us. So it's not like, okay, helter skelter, Jekyll Hyde, what, are they going to be in bad moods? Is it fire and brimstone? Do we all suck? No, it's none of that, man. We know what's before us. We've been preaching. We're running our race. We know where, this is who we are. This is where we started from. We know where we got to grow. All right. And it's going to take time. Can you be urgent in the moment and patient with the process? That's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. But I think we have all collectively done our absolute best, to stay true to that message, which honestly I laid out from day one. Like this isn't, coming in and, oh man, we just set them out there and put them and let them go. Like, no, there's a lot of growth that has to happen to play the level of football that we got to play to be successful against the teams that we're going to play. It's not, this is Georgia 6A football. I would argue that if you dropped a pin somewhere around Parkview High School in a radius of 30 miles, it is the most concentrated collection of highly talented players and programs in the country. And that's not hyperbole.
And you're already seeing a lot of them show out on Saturdays and even on Sundays.
Goodness gracious. It's every week, from CJ Daniels to Mike Matthews and those guys. And you look on Sunday and you're going to have Washington up there and Miami, Malik, they're killing it, and that's the pedigree. You see ex-Parkview guys on TV and all this. So
coaching against each other.
So, the pedigree is real. The tradition is real, and it's not lost on any of us, but these young men, they don't have to be anything else to anybody except the best version of them and to keep showing up. Just keep showing up, right? If we keep doing that, I promise you, we're going to look back on this season and we're not going to worry about the wins and loss columns. We're going to look back on this season and say, you know what? Answer, like Coach says, we understood the mission, right? And we attacked it. And, I look at those seniors every day. I say, guys, I believe this with all my heart. You guys are going to be revered one day because you're going to be the group that stayed. You're going to be the group bought in, and you're helping to rebuild this foundation that is so impressive. And that is not going to be lost on me. And I promise you it's not going to be lost on anybody when we look back in a few years. And we're saying, man, where did this all start? And where are we now? It's going to be because of those guys.
Keep showing up. I love that message. And that's one that we can end on that because that's such a positive message to have there. So, look, coaches, both of you, I really thank your time today. Look forward. We'll get together again next week. We'll review the game coming off of Berkmar. Hopefully we're staring at a region record of 1-0. And so until then, coaches, we'll see you out in the field. Thanks a lot, guys.
Appreciate it, fellas.
Go Panthers.